Hello, everybody. Welcome to another interesting session on your favorite podcast, Inspiring Educators. We have a very inspirational educator with us, Sanjala Wazir, who has been, creating an impact on education for decades altogether. I know of her work, she's shared with me about what she's doing currently and what she was doing before that. And I can easily count almost 2.5, 3 decades of impact on education. She has been impacting thousands and thousands of students in and around Dehradun. Welcome to the podcast, Sanjala.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for calling me, and I'm very happy to be here and sharing my experience as a teacher, as an educator.
I would love if you could also introduce yourself as an educator and mentioning specifically those parts of the journey which are the closest to your heart. If you could introduce yourself.
So, hello everybody. I'm Sanjala. My journey as a teacher has actually been quite an unconventional one, in two ways actually. So, I started working very late in life. I was in my 40s when I stepped out of the house to work, because I had taken a conscious decision that till my children, both my children, I have a son and a daughter, till they reach a reasonably good age where they can look after themselves and fend for themselves, I'm not going to step outside my house. And the kind of timeline that I had laid for myself is that as soon as my daughter passes class 12, goes to college, that is the time I'll start thinking of getting into education and at least stepping out of the house. But it happened sooner than that. She was still in class 10 and this opportunity fell into my lap. And I joined Welham Girls School as an ad-hoc teacher just for a month, because the teacher who was teaching economics there, and that was my subject, she was going overseas to play badminton and she needed a substitute. So I had not touched my books in 20 years. They were eating dust somewhere because I was so engrossed in bringing up the family and looking after home and children and all that. So when I went to meet the principal, Mrs. Shanti Verma, late Mrs. Shanti Verma, unfortunately she's not amongst us anymore. I had a very informal conversation with her. I was meeting her for the first time. And so I told her, I said, ma'am, I have not touched my books in years. Mm-hmm. So I need a little time to kind of brush up before I take on this responsibility, even if it is for a month. So she said, how much time do you need? And she called everybody sweetie and honey bun. And so she said, how much time do you need, sweetie? I said, at least 10 days, if not more. So she just put her tender hand on my hand and she said, sorry, you don't have that much time. You have to start teaching from tomorrow.
Wow. Oh, wow.
So I actually didn't know what had hit me. And I said, okay. I said, all right. And I came out, I went, and there was no demo class. That's why I'm saying it was unconventional. There was no interview.
Right.
There was no demo class. I don't know how she trusted me with class 11 at that time.
Wow.
And she also told me, she says, not only economics, you'll have to teach political science as well, because I can see you've done your graduation in political science. I said, wow, double brick falling on my head. So I said, okay. Right. So the first day I went to class, and that was actually the next day. I had no clue as to what I'm going to do, where I'm going to begin from, how I'm going to handle, and that age group, class 11 age group.
Yeah.
And but you know what, Rishabh, I learned something in that classroom. I learned what was the need of my students.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
So it was an incidental education, instant education for me at that time. Mm-hmm. And I suddenly gained confidence. I know as long as I know what my students want, I can deliver. And thus began my journey there. And that 1 month took 20 years to finish. Because they wouldn't
long 1 month. Very, very long 1 month.
Very long 1 month. And the teacher came back and she said, and the principal said that I'm not letting you go. I said, but she's all back. And so she said, no, it's too large a class. We do need 2 teachers. So you hang on. I said, okay. So I taught political science and economics for 20 years in Welham Girls. In between, I rose to the position of the head of the department of two departments, the humanities as well as commerce and accounts and economics.
Got it.
And then within a few more years, I was actually about to leave school at that time because my husband was in Bombay and the family felt that I should shift to Bombay and be with him. That was the time I was offered the deanship. And more than anything else, yes, it was a little bit of a temptation to just get a feel of how administration. I didn't have any experience in administration either. But it turned out to be a very enriching experience, those 20 years in Welham. I learned a lot, I grew as a person. And I also realized that since childhood, I had wanted to be a teacher. Like I think all children want to be a teacher, but somewhere down up the line, they just feel that, teaching
fades
is
away. Just fades away.
It's just a phase. But I had always wanted to be a teacher. And one thing I learned that I know those years when I was doing nothing but just looking after home and children. And there used to be depressive moments where I would say, why did I study so much? What am I doing? Just cooking dal and that. Yeah. But if you keep your passion alive, you keep that flame alive, you will be able to do it and opportunity will come your way. So that is one life lesson that I learned.
Beautiful.
So after I finished my term in Welham Girls, then I said, okay, I'm retired now. I don't need to do anything. I don't want to do anything. I want to read, I want to write, and so on and so forth. But within a week, that restlessness crept in again. I want to do something. I was sure that I want to be into education, but I don't want to be teaching children now. I think I should do something more. So I started doing teacher development programs, and I got the opportunity of training teachers in renowned schools of the country. I went to Bishop Cotton, Assam Valley and Pallikoodam in Kerala. This is the school run by Arundhati Roy's mother, and a few other schools. But Rishabh, towards the end, I started feeling restless again. I said, what I realized is that all the trainings that I imparted, they were not, taken forward. So I felt, what is the use of, doing these trainings if they are not reinforced and they are not pursued? So, to tell you the truth, I felt very commercial going for these teachers training programs and walking out with a check, and then I had no way of seeing how this baby is growing.
Yeah.
So, and while I was just contemplating and thinking what else I can do, this opportunity fell into my lap, PYDS. And there I realized, I think that is what I wanted to do. I wanted to not only see children growing at that grassroots level, but also helping teachers who will help to groom these children.
And see the impact in the teachers while they do it.
So here, for the last 4.5 years, I have seen the growth happening. I have seen things being implemented. I took up different projects for different sections of the school. So I'm currently running 5 academic projects there, and they are running well, very well. It was a challenge in the beginning to change the mindset of the teachers to get out of their comfort zones, but it happened by God's grace. So this has been my journey as an educator.
It's been a beautiful journey, and one thing which has kind of stayed with me while you were sharing your entire journey was that it was not a plan when you started. It was I call usually, sorry for the words, but I call them accidental teachers.
Yeah.
And accidental teachers many times become either outstanding or they leave within the first couple of years because they realize, no, this is not what I wanted to do. This is too much stress. And all the accidental teachers who last, a couple of decades, they always end up as education leaders because they have an internal passion, a motivation which keeps guiding them. It's not what's happening on monetary side. It's not what's happening on growth side. It's that inner fire of doing more. And I think that happened with you when you retired from Welham's and you thought, I'll relax, but that fire would just not stop, right? That fire would be like, I want more.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I'm really with you on that. On exact this point, I want to know, there would be days when you would be feeling demotivated in those 20 years. And it would be the easiest thing to do to hang your boots and say, I'm done. I didn't come for this stress. I came for doing more good work, but this is too much stress. And here are my papers. Did you ever reach that place? If yes, when and how did you manage that? If no, why not? So that's the most important part for me.
Yeah, interesting question. So I won't say there was any particular moment where I said I'm done. I don't think that ever came into my life. But yes, there were times when I would say, why can't I just move on from here and either do something else or just relax at home because of the pressure of work. Because it was a residential school, sometimes I used to come home at 8 o'clock in the evening. And but what kept me going? So there was no dramatic moment as such, to be honest. But off and on this thought would come, like, do I need to do this, But the only thing that kept me going was the desire to see my worst student up there doing something. And that has been the greatest gratification that I have got. I'm in touch with a lot of my students. And some of those students are students where I would put up my hands and I would say, what is going to happen to this child? And they are doing very well in life. And that is also the time I realized what education is. It's not just literacy and scores. It's much more than that. And, so that kept me going. For every time it happened, so that particular class, actually those faces would kind of hover around me and say, what will happen to these children if I and other teachers decide to move out?
Yeah. So
the end point of a teacher is a student, the impact on the student. So that is what kept me going.
I so much love the point that you made, that it was the outcome of what your learners will get which kept you going.
Absolutely.
Because problems will keep happening. And I've been discussing this with so many educators that the next generations have not actually realized how important it is to keep going on. If we talk about personal relationships, the number of divorces in India right now is growing dramatically. People are getting separated because we don't want to adjust. We don't want to become teachers because there's too much pressure, and who will adjust so much? We don't want to face challenges because we have not really learned till what level do we need to focus on the outcome and not just what's happening right now. And I think with that, people who finally decide to become teachers, they are facing a new set of challenges. If you had to kind of focus on some of those challenges and share what according to you, a new age teacher faces, what are the challenges that a new age teacher faces in a school, whether in Gurukul, whether in Dehradun, Welhams, whether in all the top schools that you visited around the country, or a regular CBSE ICSE school, or a state board school across the country. What are some of the top challenges that a teacher today is facing, which are different from what the teachers were facing in the past?
Again, Rishabh, I would just point out a one challenge which covers everything. Okay, the scene outside the education world is changing, and the whole scene outside school is changing. The teachers are now not equipped to equip the students to be ready for those changes. Let's say, for instance, if we talk about our own country and the new National Education Policy 2022, which has already been implemented, there is a huge gap there, because at the tertiary level, it has already been implemented. You have this QIT, and then you have these universities taking their own entrance exam, then you have multidisciplinary courses available and all that. But the schools are not equipped to prepare the students for that. and teachers are a part of that. So all the challenges that they face, the school faces, the teachers are facing. There aren't enough trainers also in the country to train these teachers. Schools also don't know how to go about it. What is lacking? And then, like for instance, CBSE is also changing in its mindset because it has to tune itself to the national education policy. So it is sending policies and mandates and notifications almost every day.
Wow.
And because the schools are not equipped, even I don't know, as a head of school, like if I'm the head of school, even I don't know what CBSE wants and what is this. Is art integrated teaching? What is it? Even I don't know what that is. But what do I do? What is the easiest thing for me to do is that CBSE wants art integrated teaching, you better do art integrated teaching. Yeah. They are not equipped to do that. There's no guidance for that. This is the biggest challenge that teachers are facing, which covers everything.
Got it. So
day-to-day
if I just put it together, are you saying that the lack of a formal mentoring and training system which puts teachers at the center, and not just the school or not just the student, but the teacher at the center, that we prepare teachers as professionals who can then take care of the students' needs and school's needs, is missing entirely?
Absolutely, it's missing, and I don't know whose fault. I don't think it is anybody's fault.
Yeah.
But it has to be an integrated thinking and planning.
Yeah.
And one more challenge that the school as a whole faces, along with the teachers, so it impacts the teachers as well, is the parent body. I like in Welham Girls School, there were children from elite backgrounds, and I'm in Purkul, where children come from very impoverished backgrounds. Yeah. Parents are illiterate; they hardly can earn 2 meals a day. But strangely, the difference in their thinking is so vast, which means the more the educated the parent, the more rigid the parent becomes to any changes that the school is trying to make, any change that a teacher is trying to make. And here are these parents who are completely illiterate and who have placed their child in your hand and say, "Aapko jo lagta theek lagta hai bacche ke liye, aap kijiye."
Sanjala, is it a matter of trust?
It is a matter. Yes, it is a matter of trust. And also because unfortunately they are ignorant, and ignorance is bliss. Parents of the other strata have only half-baked knowledge.
Yeah, which is more dangerous actually.
And they are comparing schools because their friends' children go to some other schools. They make them write so much, and the school doesn't make them write. Not only that, then additional additional devil has come in, and that is this WhatsApp, and these parents have formed WhatsApp groups, which is lethal, absolutely lethal. So they keep comparing notes, and the entire impact comes on the school management, and they pass on their impact on the teachers, and the teachers don't know where to go and what to do. Absolutely. So they face a lot of teachers in present times face a lot of challenge. Here we are talking about modern pedagogy and all jargon, and here we are not even preparing them for that, but expecting. So what bigger challenge than this can come their way?
And I hear it loud and clear that it's not just managing the kids' learning, it's also managing parents' expectations, it's also managing management expectation, where expectations are changing by the virtue of what the board wants changed, what the parents want changed, what the society wants changed, what Ministry of Education wants changed. Everybody wants a change. And at the end of the day, everybody shares their communication, but it's the teacher who has to implement in the classroom.
Absolutely.
And finding those superstars, rock star, superhero teachers who can really go out and do all that is super difficult today. So when you are sitting for, let's say, hiring teachers for Purkul or hiring teachers for Welhams or if you are in the board of any school, who invites you to say, please help us in identifying the right kind of teachers, what are the top 3 qualities that you look for in a teacher today that at least gives you the confidence that this teacher will be able to do the job?
Yeah. The passion. And you can make out passion in a minute. Willingness to change. Not come with a premeditated idea that this is how I'm going to teach you. Willingness to change. And the third thing is the longevity of that teacher in that institution, which is so important. It's not only because if the attrition rate is high, the management face a difficulty. I never look at it like that, because one teacher goes, another comes. I look at the impact on children.
Oh yeah.
And children build up a bond with the teacher. And once a teacher leaves, it is very traumatic for the children. It takes them time to come up and get adjusted. So how long this teacher is going to stay? So I'm infamous for exploring their personal lives, because that gives me an idea of, if it is a young teacher, when is she going to get married? If it is a young married teacher, when does she start, plan to start a family? What are her other responsibilities at home? And so on and so forth. But I ensure that I make them comfortable before I ask such questions. So passion, willingness to learn, and the longevity.
Beautiful. No, this is very good. This is
qualification, and qualification is something tangible.
Yeah.
These are all intangibles, and we need to pay attention to the intangibles.
With you completely. On the intangible part and on the skills and qualifications part, there's another topic that everybody's been talking about, which is technology, and teachers who understand technology, and teachers can be replaced by technology, cannot be replaced by technology. What havoc will technology bring, or will it be a boon, or will it be a pain? It's been so much all over. What's your take on teachers and technology?
So again, I have very unconventional thoughts on technology. I feel that technology is an important tool. It might also to some extent be an indispensable tool to education, but it is only a tool.
Yeah.
It cannot replace a teacher, because education is all about a relationship, not all about, a lot about relationship. You're talking about intangibles right now. You started the question with that. Yes, when there is a face-to-face interaction with the teacher, there's a lot of intangible learning that happens, the skills that they pick up, and that is all inadvertent, accidental learning, which is so very important.
The hidden curriculum.
Yeah, and also let's just take an example of any technology like smart boards, and schools kind of write it down in their prospectus that the whole school is smart, and we have smart boards and all that. Yes, smart boards are very good, but what is the role of a teacher? The click of a mouse. All the talent, creativity of the teacher, thinking process, it all comes to a stall. And so I might sound very, very ancient. I'm totally against these smart boards. Totally against smart boards. Everything is ready at the click of a mouse. And as far as if technology is used to the extent of, like, I've given an assignment and I've said you research. That's it. Do a research on your internet and come back to the class. So it is, again, I'll come back to what I started it with, that it is a tool. And it's an important tool. It expedites work. It makes work easier, but it cannot replace the teacher. Certainly.
Completely with you. And I somehow very strongly feel that a smart board is not actually smart by itself. It only becomes smart when it's given to the right teacher. So it's as smart as the teacher that's using it.
Absolutely.
And it's like, it's just like you might give the best of the tools to the person who has to do the work, but if the person does not have the right skill, that tool does not become an enabler. That tool becomes a disabler then and there, because now you are struggling with the tool and not focusing on the outcome delivery.
Absolutely right.
So with you on that if tool in itself cannot really work, we need the right talent to.
And there is this very old maxim. It says high touch before high tech.
Yeah.
That is so important.
Absolutely.
That's so important.
With you. And, which brings us to almost the last part of the podcast where I'm super passionate about creating teachers. Me and the entire organization at Surasa, every single individual is super passionate about creating new teachers and enabling continuous career and financial growth for current teachers. That's our vision. That's what we work towards. And that's why this last part, we always request our guests to, record a message, to say out a message for the next generations, future generations, pitching the teaching profession to the next generation. How would you like to, how the next generation say, how would you sell this profession to me? So what would you like to share about the teaching profession with the next generations that they are motivated to become teachers? Over to you.
See, it's being a teacher is infamous for that people say it is a thankless job. So I would first like, people who are listening to this, I would request them to just go beyond that and see whether is there any truth in it? Is it a thankless job? When you see your student up there and the student comes, recognizes you after so many years and comes and touches your feet and says, ma'am, it's all because of you. What can be more gratifying than that? So it is not a thankless. On day-to-day basis, yes, it might be a very thankless job because you're getting it left, right, center from students and management and parents. But at the end, it is not a thankless job. I think it is when it is, somebody has called it a noble profession. It's not called that for no reason. And the gratification that you get, again, I'm coming down to the worst student in your class. When you see the worst student making progress, the gratification that comes, I don't think that gratification can come from any job. If I may kind of quote my husband, the first time he came with me to Purkul Youth Development Society and he spent the whole day there, he came back and he told me, you know what, he comes from a corporate background. He told me, I work for the body and you work for the soul.
Wow. So beautifully said.
So, and it's true. It's true when you see your children in school growing and the worst student turning out to be somebody, or the most misbehaved child turning out to be a gentle child. Like, education is not just literacy, it encompasses so much. So I would say that it is the most gratifying job. You go to bed every night a happy person. A tired person, there's no doubt about it because you have been juiced out throughout the day. But if you just pay attention to it, you'll see the gratification that you get every time you go to bed. Today I touched this child.
Amazing.
There is a lady, she was my student. She is an IAS officer right now. And 4 years back, I came across her on Facebook and I sent her a message. And she was a very quiet girl in the class. Very quiet. In other classes, she used to sit at the back. In my class, she used to sit right in the front. And quietly doing her work, she would not open her mouth. In initial years, I used to get sometimes irritated with her that everybody is speaking, why can't, because I believe in an interactive class. She would just give me a very sweet smile. And so she had written, she says, ma'am, you walked in one day and you just tapped on my head playfully. You don't know how much difference you make to me, because that day I was feeling down in the dumps.
I have goosebumps right now. Yeah, I know what you mean.
She was from the northeast, very far away from home. I don't know what had happened at home or had something happened in school. She says, that day I was down in the dumps. You did nothing. You just walked in. I didn't even realize. I didn't even look at her face. I just playfully tapped on her head in class 11. So that is, and I said, oh my God, I didn't even realize that. So the gratification is one key thing I must tell all young people who are, running away from a teaching job. Think of it. Think of the gratification that you get. Yeah.
Super. Thank you so much for the message. And I'm just sharing your thought with everyone. Guys, Sanjala is clearly saying that if you're looking for a job which has magic, which has passion, which has ability to transform lives just by a simple touch, that's teaching. What are you waiting for? Come over and join the profession.
Yes.
On that note, I would like to bring a close to this session today. Sanjala, thank you so much for sharing your outstanding journey. It's been mind-blowing to hear how everything has happened throughout these last 25, 30 years that you've spent almost. And I'm sure Gurukul Youth Development Society, the students, the parents, they are super lucky to have you around. They have no idea what all you're adding to them. And we would love to get more from you. Would love to get you involved in more things that we do beyond here. Thank you so much for being here today. I would also like to thank the listeners for being around, and we'll be coming back soon with the next episode with another inspiring journey of an inspirational educator. Till then, enjoy yourself and see you soon. Bye-bye.